Welcome to our first ever Oz Trader Chat, which is a trader chat specifically targeted at the Australian time zone. For a long time we've been talking about doing trader chats for different time zones and splitting our main trader chat, which we've been doing, of course, every Wednesday afternoon for quite some time now, been talking about splitting those trader chats into smaller groups, which are targeted for specific time zones to make it easier for those people in particular time zones to come to our trader chats. The purpose of the trader chat, of course, is to talk about Sentient Trader and to talk about trading financial markets using Hurst cyclic principles. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix things up a little bit, and we'll be speaking about different things during our Oz Trader chats to the things that we speak about during our regular Wednesday Trader chats. And so that people who are able to attend more than one of them are of course welcome to, and you can come to as many trader chats as you can take. Because this is the first trader chat for the Australian time zone, today's trader chat is going to be very much a sort of an introduction to Sentient Trader. I know that many of you are people who are working with Sentient Trader already, so please let me know if the kind of things I'm talking about are things that you're aware of, you want me to move on. I'm going to take a look at the Australian market, and I'm going to discuss various things to do with what I think might be happening to the Australian market as a whole. So I hope that will be of interest to you, as many of you are based in Australia, of course. As always, we need to start things off by going through some legal disclaimers. So let me just do that first. The first thing you should be aware of is that all trading involves risk. Please be aware of and accept this risk before trading, and never trade with money that you cannot afford to lose. You should also know that past performance of any trading methodology is no guarantee of future results, and no representation is being made in this webinar that any account will achieve profits or losses similar to those discussed. All results should also be considered to be hypothetical unless otherwise specified. Hypothetical performance results have many inherent limitations, and unlike an actual performance record, do not represent actual trading. There we go. Those are the legal disclaimers which I am obliged to go through at the beginning of each and every one of our trader chats. A few pointers about using NetViewer, particularly for those of you who haven't used NetViewer before, and I do see a few names there that are new. So the first thing you should realize is that the best way to ask questions is to type a message into the chat window. If you cannot hear me, slide up the volume slider, the speaker slider in your VoIP tray. And if you'd like to talk to me, then you're very welcome to. Simply right-click and also enter a chat message into the chat window, so that I'm aware that it wasn't an accidental mouse click. Speaking of which, please be careful of accidental mouse clicks, because they pop up very brightly colored arrows and speech bubbles, which can be a little distracting. Okay, so for our first Oz Trader Chat, I am going to be introducing Sentient Trader, but not only introducing Sentient Trader, I am going to be using Sentient Trader to perform an analysis of the Australian stock market. Okay, so the purpose of Trader Chat, of course, is to speak about working with Sentient Trader, but not only working with Sentient Trader, also about trading the markets using Hurst cyclic principles. And everybody who comes to our trader chats generally has some understanding of Hurst cyclic principles. So it's always a little tricky when we're doing the first trader chat for any particular area to know exactly where to pitch the conversation, if you like. I'm going to try to introduce Sentient Trader at the same time as taking a look at an analysis of the Australian stock market, so that for those of you who are experienced Sentient Trader users, and I see many of you there are, I hope that the webinar will be of interest to you as well. And in the process of taking a look at the Australian market, I will be showing you how to work with Sentient Trader for those of you who are new to Sentient Trader. Okay. So before we get started, just on a bit of a personal note, Australia is the first specific time zone that we've targeted for our trader chats, and we are going to be doing several of them, as you will know if you've been attending our weekly Wednesday trader chat, which happens a few hours later than this trader chat, and so it's not a very convenient time, I know, for Australians. You will know that we've been talking about doing trader chats, smaller trader chats with sort of breakaway groups, if you like. And this is the first of them. Why is our first breakaway group targeted at Australia? Well, Australians have always been very interested in Sentient Trader. When I started doing beta testing of Sentient Trader, and Sentient Trader, as most of you know, started off as a personal project for myself so that I could have a tool to make my trading using Hurst cycling principles easier. And I started working on the project 7 years ago in 2005, and I started beta testing the software with beta testers who stumbled upon my little website that I set up for the software, which in those days was called the Hurst Trader. And amongst the initial beta testers, there was a large proportion of Australians. And I always thought it was very interesting that Australia had such a strong interest in Hurst cyclic principles, and I know that Dennis Keelaw, who's based in Adelaide, of course, teaches Hurst cyclic principles in a course that he does, which probably contributes largely to the interest in Hurst cyclic principles in Australia. But there are many Australians who are in other areas of Australia and have a strong interest in Hurst cyclic principles. And so it was easy for us when we were trying to decide which time zone we should first create a sort of a breakaway group in. It was fairly obvious that Australia would be that time zone because of the very strong constant interest that we have from the Australian market. And I'm delighted, on a personal note, to see many people that I've had the pleasure of meeting personally. I delivered a workshop in Australia a little over a year ago now in Sentient Trading and Sentient Trader software, and it was a great pleasure to meet many of you in person. And it's wonderful to know that you're all still trading the cycles and working with Sentient Trader. So I'm delighted to see all of you over there. I've been speaking so long that my screensaver kicked in. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's get down to the meat of the matter. I thought that I would speak today about the Australian market and my approach, my take on the Australian market. And I would really encourage you, the idea of these smaller trader chats is that we can make them more personal, and it's not just me banging on for 45 minutes or an hour. I'd really encourage you to let me know what you think. If you have any questions, of course, put them into the chat window, or even open up your microphone and speak to me. If you have things that you would like to say to add to the conversation, then please do. I don't watch the Australian market as a general rule with tremendous frequency. Occasionally I do look at it. And I know that all of you, of course, are right in the thick of it, and you are analyzing this market probably every day yourselves. So I would love to hear what you think about the analysis that I'm going to be discussing today. First of all, what am I looking at? Well, the Australian market. Here we go. The Australian market, any market, of course, has an index, and the Australian market index that I've chosen for today is the ASX 200, which I believe is called the S&P ASX 200 index. And I did a little bit of research when I started looking at the Australian market, which was actually many years ago. As you might know, I am a South African, and for many years I traded in South Africa. And one of the things I found very interesting as a South African was that it's very useful not only to follow your own local market, in other words, my South African market in those days, but it's very useful to keep an eye on markets around the world. And that's an idea that I've taken with me, and I continue to do it today. Of course, I follow the US markets very closely, and of course forex markets. But it's very useful to keep an eye on the Australian market. I still keep an eye on the South African market as a matter of interest. South African market is of course an emerging market. The Australian market isn't what one would call an emerging market, Australia being a very established market. Anyway, so the ASX 200 index is one that I've looked at for many years. And the first question when you're going to work with a sentient trader is how can you get data for the market that you want to analyze? Well, there are always a very large number of sources for data that sentient trader can analyze, and you'll see here on this particular website, which is why I'm showing it to you. This is a website called tradingeconomics.com, and it's got a little write-up about the Australia stock market, and it talks about the S&P ASX 200, and if you click on this button, you can export historical data. So you can load historical data, which you can then load into Sentient Trader. I've chosen to use Yahoo Finance, which also offers the S&P ASX 200, and I expect most of you are familiar with this. If you're not, I'd be happy to explain how one does it. But basically, you search for ASX 200. You click on the historical prices menu at the left-hand side there, and then you simply scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you click on the download to spreadsheet link. And you download a spreadsheet. This spreadsheet has 11 years worth of data, and then you simply open that in Sentient Trader, which I've done by loading up some ASCII data. One of the questions we always get, and when I'm introducing Sentient Trader for people who are new to it, people always say, what kind of data can Sentient Trader read? Well, you can see a list here of the 6 formats that Sentient Trader currently reads: ASCII data, Metastock data, and I know many Australian users use Metastock data, DT and IQ feed, MetaTrader 4, which is forex, and I know many of you in Australia are using MetaTrader 4 as well. IBTWS data, again, they offer Australian data, and NinjaTrader. Now, NinjaTrader will connect to a very large array of data providers. So if you don't see your data provider listed in the list of 6 that Sentient Trader currently supports, then you might well be able to access them through NinjaTrader. NinjaTrader is, of course, a free trading platform that you can access data from many